Joining us is the former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, who is also the founder of the think tank, the Institute of Governance and Economic Transformation, Professor Kingsley Chiedu Moghalu. Welcome to the show. Before we go into the PVC matter, what are your thoughts on stomach infrastructure, young people, how the fact that governors feel that they can actually still influence our votes with stomach infrastructure?
Well, first of all, thank you. It's good to be here. I'm always happy to be among the smartest people in the world.
Oh, wow.
And that's... and any wise man knows that the smartest people in the world are women.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, patch yourself on the back.
But to your question, the first thing I want to say is that we should begin to realize that the only thing that stomach infrastructure guarantees you is a trip to the toilet. Yes, and it's time for us to begin to change the narrative. It's time for us to hold our political leaders accountable to the promises they make when they are coming to be elected.
Easier said, sir.
I know, but you see, the point is this. You take 2,000 naira today, your stomach infrastructure. 4 years later, they come back with 2,000 naira. Your son is still unemployed. Your daughter is still unemployed. You still don't have good hospitals. We now need to begin to say, who are the types of political leaders we should elect who can actually solve our problems on a longer term basis? Now, for that to happen, that's where the voters' card issue comes in.
Right. Yes.
And to link into the voters' card issue, I think that women have a very special role to play. Because a lot of times this stomach infrastructure is distributed using the market women, the Ankara and so on, to give to their children, to give to their families. That's why female participation in politics becomes very important. Women make up 49% of Nigeria's population. That's almost somewhere near 90 million people. Now, so if you don't go and get your voter's card, you are allowing people who are not thinking in the right way to decide your future, and you will remain poor. That is the point. Every society in the world that has made progress was once poor.
Right.
Poverty was once the predominant condition of life, even in the Western world.
Right.
Yes.
And the only people who were wealthy were the kings and the queens and the nobility.
Yes.
But what happened? At some point, the poor rose up
Yes.
and said, poverty, no more.
Right.
Revolution.
That's the tipping point.
Yes, yes. We now have to participate in our future. And what happened in the Western countries and in many countries was that there began to be a shift in political leadership towards intellectuals, towards technocrats, people who understood how to solve the problems of healthcare, people who understand technically how to solve the problems of education, people who can build an economy that creates jobs. That's what we need in Nigeria today. And it is time for us to begin to move in this direction.
There are a few sides to this. We've had technocrats that mess up when they got into power. One. Number two, we understand that these market women, these mothers control the family. They influence from within, and the politicians have taken a hold of them. How can the technocrats break through into connecting with them? And like I said, it might not necessarily be as easy as social media, because the women are not on social media, and they are the ones that are influential.
That's why I set up the Institute for Governance and Economic Transformation. It is for a purpose such as this, to begin to educate our people using all kinds of media, not just social media, but using radio, using community meetings. I was in the East, in Nnewi, my hometown, over the Christmas, and I spoke to my community, a lot of people, and I told them what they should bear in mind as we begin to go into 2019. Get your voter's card. It was not on social media, but I was able to reach hundreds and thousands of people.
Let me pause for a second. Let me come to Esther.
Yes, I realized something, that there's a point a person would get to, that even if the person gets your money or your food or your Ankara, when they get to that polling booth, if they have a mind of their own, you're not there to stick the ballot for them.
Sure.
How do we get to that point that even with all those things we collect, we still know that we are looking out for candidates that have the mind of the people and not to impoverish us?
How do we know them?
Yeah.
Please, before you answer that question, I have to ask my own. Because me, I'm willing to go and queue for a PVC. I refuse to vote. Why? Because I've not seen who I want to vote for.
Okay.
If they put them there and I don't see who I want to vote for, what's the point in my PVC?
Yeah. Now, let me explain that.
How do we know them?
Yeah. How do you know them? One, I believe, as far as 2019 is concerned in Nigeria, that there will be many more better alternatives coming up. So let's first of all give ourselves that hope. Number two, when you don't participate, you are not able to influence.
Very true, sir.
If in 2015, 15% only decided the future of Nigerians.
Can you imagine?
62 million Nigerians were eligible to vote and did not vote. So this is why bad leaders come up, because many citizens do not vote. When you vote on your judgment of who the best candidate is among the options you have. And as you begin to inflict that type of punishment, better candidates will be coming up in future elections.
Let me take you up on that, because in 2015, everyone wanted change. The government of President Jonathan, we had seen a lot of corruption. A few people thought he was clueless. There wasn't really anything moving us forward that we could hold on to.
Yes.
And President Buhari, that had contested 3 times before and continually only got votes from the north, people thought at the time that he was their only option. Regardless of that, we had 12 candidates at the time. No one else out of the 2 major political parties had the clout and the money to go around the country. Now, he wasn't, as we know of it, he wasn't giving anybody Ankara or money or anything like that. I don't know if he did. So people chose him based on they believed in him. Look at us 3 years down the line. There's another election coming up and we have not seen any change. So where are the viable options? And how do I recognize that this person that I believe in, if I vote him and I stay on the queue for 10 hours, is going to change my life?
The election was run on the campaign of integrity, you know, and that this is a man of integrity. Yeah. So right now we realize that integrity does not run the economy. Integrity does not necessarily fight corruption. No. So what should we look out for now?
Very good questions. What we should be looking out for now in 2019 is as follows. Check these things: capacity, competence, character, and track record.
Let me come to Nima.
Democracy, as we run it here, is a very complicated system of government. Very complicated. Don't you think that our focus should be on the houses of assemblies? The National Assembly, where we've made the mistake. We have a leader, but you don't see any state of House of Assembly initiating the process of removal. Nobody is thinking of impeachment. Nobody knows what gross misconduct means. So shouldn't we be focusing on this set of people who just get into office for the salary, rather than, look for people that will do the job?
Should we even change the structure? Do we need all the houses of assembly that we have?
I believe when I say what I say it not just with regard to the president or the presidency. I say it with regard to every politician that is seeking to be elected into office. Yes. The standards are and should be the same thing.
Capacity.
Whether capacity, character, competence, and track record.
Track record.
What kind of character? You have to look at first of all, because I like the point that Tope made. Integrity does not run the economy.
It doesn't. So
integrity does not even necessarily fight corruption.
Yeah. We have seen it.
So we have seen all these things. So when you are electing candidates or considering candidates in 2019, ask the candidates to answer specific questions and judge them by their answers about how they would fulfill their promises.
Yes. And
judge them. There must be debates, and judge them by the track record that they have or do not have.
Now, how do we get people to go from voting for party and
voting for candidates?
This is all part of political education.
Yes.
And this is one of the things my institute is going to be doing. Or
Right.
we've already started. We are talking about this whole question. In Nigeria, once people talk about politics, the first thing people start asking you is platform. What is the platform?
Which party?
Which party? Which party? And that is all. Let me answer the question. You've had two dominant parties for the last how many years? Nearly 20 years.
17 years.
Is your life better off
No.
today? So you now need to begin to look at the individual, much more important than the party, because in Nigeria, as it is today, in Nigeria as it is today, the parties have just been mere vehicles of convenience for people to acquire political power. Now, as you elect the right types of individuals, they will now build political parties that have vision, have ideology, have a worldview, and have proper policy.
I caught that. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll join Esther and Nima in the audience for questions. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're going to start with the audience. Nima, do you have any questions for us?
Yes. We have this young man right behind me. Has a question.
Good morning. My question goes to the former gentleman. We have some senators in the Senate House. I love the point Nima made. Senators like Buruji Kashamu. He has been in the Senate for 3 years. He hasn't said a word. Senators like Jonah Jang. He sleeps every time I see him on channels. We have senators like David Mark that have spoken only once in the Senate House. So all these senators, we see them, they are just collecting money, collecting 23 allowances. How do we change that? Can we recall them? Is it possible that a recall person? And second question is, talking about election reform. We saw a former president go to Kenya and said all the votes we voted for Abiola was thrown into the Lagos Lagoon. Will our vote really count in 2019?
Thank you. Thank you very much for that question.
So because what he's saying is we are disillusioned.
Absolutely. And I think that disillusionment is the source of hope. Because that disillusionment means that people are now ready for something very different. So when the electoral process unfolds and new ideas and new people begin to come out, perhaps you should embrace them now. Because the time has come. It's time for a serious paradigm shift in Nigeria. We're almost at the bottom, and there's nowhere else for us to go but up.
All right, fantastic. Let's take our next question from the audience.
All right, good morning. My question is, while he was talking, he said we can prosecute our leaders. But the question now is, how do we prosecute them when the people that are supposed to fight for us are on the side of the rich? Because we don't have the money, we don't have the power, so how do you fight? And then two, shortly, quickly, on washing of cups for 8 years. Yes, even in Nigeria, they wash cups. But the question is, how viable, how convenient, how is the money here compared abroad? Because if the money is the same way it is abroad, I would wash.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
So they don't make it.
But the real question, judiciary.
Why big money? Don't mind me.
Give it back to
Let me address the question. First of all, I want us to realize that the most powerful people in Nigeria are us. Me, you.
Yes.
Let us. It's at the end of the day, it's all about the mind.
Yes.
If you think and understand that you're powerful,
Yes.
you will use your voter's card to express your power.
Very good. Thank you for bringing us back to voters' card.
Exactly.
How do we get it?
Now, the processes are very clear from INEC. I think you have to get it from your local government areas and register to vote.
Yes.
Each one of us has an LGA, or you have a place of residence.
Yes.
Close to you. It doesn't have to be necessarily, in my understanding, from your where you originate from. So you can vote anywhere. But the important thing is you have to go to the INEC offices
Okay.
and register yourself.
And where
go
are
through
the INEC
process.
offices? They are in the
Local
local government
Yes,
offices.
they're
There's
in the
also
local government
online.
offices. Yes.
You can verify, because I don't have my PVC,
Exactly.
but I know that my husband registered before me and he has his own. So I use this number
Good.
and my name. You can type in your name into inec.com website to check your number.
Yes.
So you can know your number, and then you go to the INEC office to request for a reprint.
Yes.
We have a challenge though. When you register in Lagos and you relocate to Abuja, you cannot vote unless you come
Thank
back
you.
to Lagos.
It was
If
what I
you
was going
move
to say.
from
So that's a question for INEC officials.
Yes.
That's a question for INEC
we
officials.
can.
No, but what they've said is, so you go to Abuja quickly and go and register in Abuja, telling them that you have relocated.
Registration.
No. So they transfer your data from Lagos to Abuja. So go to the INEC office in the new location
INEC.
that you're
Yes.
in. We have a few tweets.
Yeah, I was going to take some. And he says, I like the optimism of people like Kingsley Moghalu. Sorry, we can't all be pessimists. Dotun Sunday says, but some Nigerians do not believe in democracy. And why should I select one of two evils? That's a very
Good question. Reverend Prof says, capacity, competence, character, track record. Please ask your guests, how many Nigerians have these and are ready to run for political leadership? I know a lot of people with these, but won't go near politics.
Very good.
Let me answer that question. I used to be one of those people. But I want to tell you that I've now changed. I'm now born again.
Why?
I understand.
Why? Why the change?
Yeah.
You say born again Christian.
I also happen to be a born again Christian, by the way. But as in terms of our discussion. But the question, the reason why I came to this understanding is that I have become very saddened by what Nigeria has become.
Very
and I'm
true.
asking myself, what does my personal distinction matter? What does my being a professor at some of the most prestigious universities in the world matter to me if all around me are people who are poor and asking for a handout
All the time.
instead of a hand up? So the point is this. Having come to that realization, I have decided to become politically engaged. And that is why I set up the Institute, to begin to educate people politically on economics and governance.
Fantastic.
So we all need to understand that if we continue to stay away from politics, the dregs and the incompetence and all sorts will
Let
continue
me
to
come to
rule us.
let me come to
And
Nima.
that's wrong.
How has the response been, sir? You know, educating people. How has the response been? As people, have people been responding
Very.
positively, and you know, see signs. People ask the right questions that
Absolutely.
you know are necessary for this change.
I am seeing as the Institute gets off the ground and as we begin to educate people, I am seeing massive response.
Okay.
I am seeing a massive, and it gives me hope that if we give our people support and help, they will come to realize how they can change
In
their
agreeing
destiny.
with Mr. Kingsley, Ogini says, the change to present a responsible candidate for election starts from the ward level. How many times do we attend our ward meetings in the area that we live in? Last tweet, John says, the process of getting candidates selected should be addressed, else our voters' card is of no use. So how the parties even pick their candidates is very important.
Let me come to the audience. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes.
One last
Before
Yes,
I
Esther,
give
go ahead,
to the
please.
audience, I just noticed something, that there is this typical belief that a youth cannot govern Nigeria because you don't even have what it takes to even garner the support. Is it possible that with Nigeria we can have a youth come out and people will vote for the
Ogi
youth?
has tried it now.
Let me let me address that question because it's very topical. We have the Not Too Young to Run movement.
Yes.
And it's a very good thing, and I support it. Now, I think, first of all, that without youth participation in Nigerian politics, we cannot change the paradigm. There are 60 million young people aged between 18 and 35 in Nigeria today. So they should vote, first of all, and some of them should run. But I will advise that as you run, you try to also develop your capacity. You build your experience. When we talk about intergenerational change in the leadership that we need in Nigeria, it's a change in many ways. It's not just a change in age.
Yes.
It's also a change in capacity, experience, character. So there are many things that come into the fact, just the fact that you are 25 years doesn't necessarily mean exactly.
Let me take a final question from the audience. Yes, let's say.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Isaac. My question is, I think during the election, many Nigerians are struggling to vote at that time. doing the machine of the printing, or what do you call? Because
Card readers machine.
sir, now people are tired to vote now. As I'm talking to you right now, 90% of Nigeria are tired to vote. But my question is how can the INEC or the
Electoral agencies.
INEC.
Can do about it? Because sometimes if you are voting,
how do you address
vote? It was difficult. So
yes,
what can you do?
Yes. Now, first of all, I think that we need to begin to hold our institutions accountable.
Yes.
That is why the power, how? By a lot of things. Street protests against INEC if you feel they're not doing their job. People can organize themselves in demonstrations.
No, they don't do that yet.
Well, then that's a problem. You see, if the Nigerian citizens themselves feel that they cannot do what they need to do to put pressure on their institutions to serve them, then the citizens themselves must take responsibility for their situation. So we cannot continue to put the blame on everybody else except us, the citizens.
Right.
But just to wrap up the question that we started with, I just wanted to mention something. We started this conversation with stomach infrastructure.
Yes.
I want to say that it is time for mental infrastructure. That is what builds wealthy nations.
Yeah.
Why do we think we will be different in Nigeria? If you go to every country that is rich, it is thinking.
Thinking
Is more important than we think.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So, I think to summarize everything, we need to move from stomach infrastructure
to mental infrastructure.
So if a governor comes to you
Can I just
and
say
gives you
something?
and helps you to train you, that means that he means well for you.
That's right.
Unfortunately, that's all we can take on. So thank you very much, sir, for coming. Thank you, our audience, for coming. We enjoyed the company. So for those of you that didn't make it today, please don't forget, next week, Wednesday, you can also join the show. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.